Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out here in the shop, and I want to talk to you about a new bait presentation technique that is really going to change the way you fish. I don't say that a lot, but this is a true technique that's going to make things better for a lot of different fishing techniques. And I'm here today to talk to you about the Tokyo rig. How to rig this thing, talk to you about some of the options, how I fish it, and then the great thing about this new technique is that it's wide open. You're going to be able to put your ideas, your spin on it, and come up with something that the fish have never seen before, ever. So let's look at the rig. If you look at the Tokyo rig, it's what a lot of people call a leadered punch shot rig. If you look at it, it's a barrel swivel, it's a ring, it's a wire, and it's a weight. It's real simplistic, but I want to show you how to put this thing together right out of the pack. VMC has the Tokyo rig in packs from 1/0 all the way up to 5/0. So depending on what size bait you want to use, you pick the right hook size. This happens to be a 2/0 Tokyo rig. And if you look at it out of the pack, there goes that simple setup. It's a ringed super wide gap or extra wide gap VMC hook. It's got a little two-way swivel. That's what your line's going to attach to. And then it has this metal rod that sticks down and it's open-ended. And that's got a swivel on the top of it to keep that thing turning in any direction, to keep the line from twisting. To that, you're going to add your favorite weight or weights. So same thing. What I love about this rig is it's versatile. You could use an 1/8 ounce, 2 quarters, a 3/4. You can use any weight you want. But here we've got, just for an example, we've got 1/2 ounce VMC tungsten flipping weights. When I'm fishing in really deep water or really thick cover, a lot of times I'm going to add 2 weights. And I want to show you what I do. There's 1/2 ounce weight, and I'm going to put it on that wire facing upward. There's my second 1/2 ounce weight. I'm going to put it on the wire facing downward. They're opposing each other. And again, any weight you want, bullet weight, football style head, any kind of weight you want. And then the last thing is I'm just going to get my pliers, and on that open end of the wire, all I do is make a small turn or bend in the wire to keep those weights on there. So I just make a little, almost like a little J bend. I make sure I like to close that gap all the way so I don't lose those weights. Okay? And now you look at that end of that wire and it's closed. During the course of the day, if I want to switch depths or cover, I can open that wire back up, take the weights off, use lighter weights, do whatever I want. But the great thing about using 2 weights on this rig, you're going to get it when you hear this, is they really make a lot of noise. You can hear that clicking sound. They make a lot of noise. And when they're worm weights that are opposing, you have cones on either end. And it makes going in and out of cover really nice. Okay? So you've got your weights, you've got your swivel, you've got your hook, and the last thing's the bait. Once again, you could put anything on it you want. I've had a lot of success in the last month or two fishing the new Berkley Power Bait Jester, and this is the bait I used at Thousand Islands a few weeks ago and caught some giant smallmouths with it. In 3 days of fishing on Thousand Islands, I caught over 60 pounds of smallmouths. And a lot of the biggest fish I caught were on this rig. You're going to get that Jester, and you're just going to rig it on that hook. I'm going to do a Texas rig. I'm going to go in about 1/8 of an inch, pull it out, turn it around the bend of that hook all the way up to that ring, and I'm just going to rig it Texas style. And there you go. If you look at it, there's that Jester on the back of it. Now, I want to tell you, you're looking at this thing, and I want to tell you why having that down leader is so important. You know, the first part of it is it's on a rigid wire. You know, if you looked at this thing, unlike a traditional drop shot, this wire is rigid. And a rigid wire stays high up on the bottom. So a short leader drop shot wants to collapse on itself. But when I fish this thing in a tank here in a second, you're going to see that rigid wire keeps the bait up off the bottom. That's real important. The fish love a bait that doesn't get lost in the bottom. It's just a little bit off the bottom. The other thing that wire does is it keeps the weights on the bottom taking all of the abuse. In a place like Thousand Islands, Lake Champlain, Lake George, places that have zebra mussels, traditional wobblehead, it's okay. But that wobblehead's on the bottom. The knot and the line is getting all the abuse. You have a lot of break-offs. But now the weights are on the bottom. They're the area that's going to take all that abuse from the bottom, not the hook. The other great thing about that rigid wire is that it allows that bait to move naturally, right? And I want you to look at that. You know, a normal punch rig where the weight's attached to the bait, it's all one piece. But in the Tokyo rig, this bait's free-flowing behind it. Look at this. 360 degrees of movement, up, down, a very natural undulation in the water. The final thing I want to talk about having the weights on the bottom on that wire and not attached to the bait is the ability to get a positive hookup with the fish and the fish not throw it. If you fish a regular, say, Texas rig, and if those weights were fixed to that bait, when you set the hook, those weights are forced out of the fish's mouth. It's normal momentum, right? You set the hook, the weights want to come out, and a lot of times you blow that fish's mouth open with the force of those weights. The great thing about the Tokyo rig, look at it, look where the weights are at. The weights are on the bottom. So when that fish, largemouth, that smallmouth comes up behind it and eats it, all he's eating is the hook and the bait. And when you jack them, those weights don't impede on your hook set whatsoever. So a lot of great facets to this bait. I really want to take you now and show you what this thing looks like in the water. Here's the exact bait. I pulled this off my rod. This is the exact bait that I used last week at Thousand Islands. You still see this one's got a lot of scratches on it from the fish I caught. But this was a green pumpkin jester. It's that same Tokyo rig. The only difference on this one is because it was real rocky and there was a lot of current, I used a football head style sliding weight. But outside of that, everything's the same. And I want to show you in this tank what this thing looks like. Now keep an eye on it, on the movement of the bait and how it stays off the bottom. And this is real key. Remember, a rigid wire. So it's keeping it off the bottom at all times. Look at that thing. Look at the movement, the side to side, the up and down movement that you get with that rigid wire. You do not get that with a short leader drop shot. Look at all that movement. Again, that rigid wire keeping the bait off the bottom. And of course, you look at that jester and you see all that tail movement. I want to show you, this is just jigging it up and down, but I want to show you a little bit about what I was doing at Thousand Islands, which is dragging it. Once again, look at this. Dragging along the bottom. See how it's staying up off the bottom? Look at that. I'm going to show you again. Watch this. Watch as it drags along the bottom. Here it goes. The bait's staying an inch or two off the bottom at all times as it drifts down in that current. So key. Think about that. The bait is off the bottom. A wobblehead gets lost on the bottom. The fish don't see it as well. The knot takes all the abuse. But on a Tokyo rig, the weight is on the bottom. The bait is off the bottom. More natural. Not getting any abuse at the knot. And when you set the hook, it's all hook and no weights. The great thing, the versatility of this Tokyo rig is you can fish it in deep water like I did at Thousand Islands. I fished 20 to 25 foot of water, crystal clear water for smallmouth bass. I've used the same setup this year in the elites, punching through grass, fishing around cypress trees, skipping it under docks. This rig is so versatile. It's unbelievable. I want to end this video talking to you about the general setup that I fish with the Tokyo rig. And I'm going to give you just some generals because this is a really versatile technique. For the most part, I'm going to fish this on a casting rod almost all the time. And I like a 7.2 to 7.6 medium heavy casting rod. Last week at Thousand Islands, for smallmouth, I used the 7.2 Abu Garcia Ike Series power rod. Medium heavy. Gives you a lot of backbone. I can make long casts. I could jack them. And I could boat flip them. I don't have to worry about playing those fish. Reel, I like an MGX or a Revo Ike reel in a faster ratio. Because when they bite, I like to set the hook and get them in as quick as I can. Something that's 7-to-1 to 8-to-1, anything in between there is fine. And on line, pick your poison. I have fished this thing in heavy grass to straight braid, 50 or 60 pound braid, and I've caught a ton of fish. I've also fished it on lighter fluorocarbon. Last week at Thousand Islands, this beautiful little smallmouth setup right here, I fished it on 15 pound, 100% trilene fluorocarbon. I can't talk about it enough. Whether you're fishing around rock for smallmouth, whether you're punching grass, flipping around wood and docks, the ability for this bait to do something that nothing else is doing that's being thrown right now. It's not a drop shot. It's not a wobblehead. It's a Tokyo rig. You got to try this thing. It's a game changer. I promise you.